Gender-based violence, the subject of our report card this time, 50 years after Papua New Guinea's independence. Hello everyone, I'm John Higgins. It's become a serious law and order and economic issue, so much so that gender-based violence, or GBV, is now at pandemic level. The statistics are alarming, renders us grasping for air given the magnitude. Urgent action from all authoritative bodies is called. The three arms of government institutions, particularly police, churches, unions, our partners, all the way down to the sensible ordinary citizen. The national conversation on the issue must now be louder than ever before. A special session of the National Parliament was informed on the status of gender-based violence, or GBV, on Tuesday, March the 18th, coinciding with the National and International Women's Days. The findings by the Permanent Parliamentary Committee on Gender Equality and Women Empowerment was part of a review into the 2016 to 2025 National Strategy on the trends and evidence of gender-based violence. Members of Parliament were taken aback when Committee Chairman and NCD Governor Powes Parker said the statistics were grave. The number of women and girls who've suffered under GBV has increased to more than 3.5 million since the 2016 National Strategy to respond and eradicate it. Nothing has improved in the last 10 years. Looking back, nothing has ever changed since independence. The other consequence as a direct result of GBV is loss in productivity. Chairman Parker placed a monetary figure at 18 billion kina. This is a catastrophe in a country where females are held as central to the household, matriarchs of family unity. Factors identified as contributors include gender inequality, cultural practices, economic inequality, and among others, weak counter mechanisms. Members of Parliament on both sides, including the Prime Minister and the opposition leader, gave their perspectives and offered remedies. Outside Parliament, women gathered, a scene that's become a perpetual ritual calling for protection. This houses only 3 female members of Parliament, remind all of the widening gap between women and men when it comes to leadership and relevance. Though outnumbered, Governor Rufina Peter of Central and the Minister for Labour and Employment, Right Coast MP Casey Sawang, were both loud in their calls for women protection. But in control, at least on that day, however short it might have been, was the member for North Bougainville and the first female Vice Speaker ever, Francisca Samoso, who presided over the GBV pandemic debate. Members realized the gravity of the situation. They emphasized the national strategy, called for legislative and policy reforms, awareness campaigns, support for victims, prevention efforts, involve men and boys to address the root cause of GBV, among other suggestions. All of these are right and pertinent, but there's something predictable about the measures. They have all been tried with varying levels of success, yet the pandemic persists. Last year, nearly 33,000 grade 12 students sat for their final examinations, hoping to go on to tertiary institutions. Unfortunately, only about 9,000 were successful. Some 24,000 were pushed out. Many today are wandering around the streets of towns, districts, and cities. They cannot fit into the village way of life, cannot be accommodated in the formal sector, and have not possessed any TVET skills to start their own trades. The trend is repeated every year for as far back as the age of this country. Thousands of young men are released into the communities with nothing to lean on. They are angry and hungry. They have the energy and the time to cause considerable damage. And they have. Look at the country's crime index. It's inevitable that many of them have and will continue to be associated with gender-based violence. Governments have known that, but they have opted for piecemeal treatment rather than cure it. And so our report card on gender-based violence 50 years after independence is that it is now at a pandemic level. Governments and partners can spend millions of kina creating new policies and devising new counter-mechanism plans. But they've got to understand that there is a corresponding force of young, reckless men who can overwhelm all the best efforts to arrest the pandemic. History has a funny way of reminding all of us about that.